I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners. Hello, humans. Welcome back to Clearing the Way. I am your host, Bradley Martin. My goal is to be a learning resource for small business owners. I talk with sales and HR experts, other small business owners, and anyone else that I think can provide us with information to clear your way to success. My guest today is Jordon Miller, owner of Nocturnal Addiction Bow Fishing. Jordon has a bachelor's degree in occupational safety and health. He's worked in safety and compliance in the oil and gas industry for over 10 years. He began as an equipment operator and has worked his way up as high as a regional safety and compliance manager. In 2016, he opened Nocturnal Addiction Bow Fishing, a Pittsburgh area-based fishing charter. The Nocturnal Addiction fleet has grown to 2 20-foot fishing boats and potentially a third houseboat, maybe.
Yep.
And maybe we'll get into how that can kind of expand and all that. But he is currently the bow fishing state record holder for common carp and for smallmouth buffalo. Are those still good?
Yeah, and we picked up Maryland as well.
Oh, sweet. Okay. And he's also a U.S. Coast Guard licensed captain. Jordon, thank you for being a guest on Clearing the Way. Anything else I messed up there or anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you got it. I appreciate you having me on here.
All right, so let's get into the let's start with school like we normally do. What kind of student were you?
In high school, not so much a good student. I was actually racing horses professionally, so I didn't feel like school was for me.
Okay.
I didn't think it was something I needed until I found my job in oil and gas, and I realized I needed an education to help further my career. So I actually achieved my degree online while working full-time, which was definitely rough.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot you were... I didn't forget. I couldn't figure out where that fit in, the horse racing. Because there was a gap after, from what I could find, there was a gap from school to the first oil and gas job, at least that I could find.
Yep.
So that was where the horse racing came in.
Yep.
Okay. When did you start that?
I started racing horses when I was... I started when I was 16, but I started training race horses when I was about 12.
Okay.
And I went professional when I was 18, and then I started transitioning out of industry when I was probably around about 22 years old. I started oil and gas, and I was double dipping. I was oil and gas and racing horses, which was pretty tough.
How were you doing that? Like
it was a challenge.
Huh. And you were doing that in high school. How? Okay. So in high school, you didn't play any sports or anything, right?
I did not, because I was I'd work release, so I would go to different racetracks and race. Once I turned 18, I was allowed to go to the big tracks. So once I turned 18, I was, just on the road hitting these different tracks.
Okay. So you started that at 16. Damn, that's wild. So, and you were training at 12. How did that happen? Like,
well, my dad growing up, he had 40 horses. So 40 horses is definitely a lot of upkeep to keep them competitive. There's a lot of work that's involved. So I'd go to the racetrack with him before school, work with horses, and after school, and it pretty much, I thought it was fun, but I think it definitely helped me because it definitely instilled a work ethic.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you guys haven't struggled with. Okay, so you started... That's so wild. Okay.
And I still race from time to time. During COVID, I drove like 35 races.
Really?
Yeah, I went down on my lunch break and drove a couple.
Okay. Okay. You don't do any training or anything like that now?
I don't. I rescued my old racehorse. He ended up in a kill pen, and I rescued him this winter. So I do have one horse, but he's mainly just for pony rides. But I'll probably get a racehorse here eventually once I get some stuff off my plate.
Yeah. Okay. What did you, training-wise, like, how long Did you prefer one side or did you prefer? I don't actually know basically anything about that industry. So, was there a preference between the racing and the training side, or is it all kind of intertwined? Like,
I really loved the racing part, but the training part was pretty cool because you really got to know the horse. So when you raced it, you're a lot more familiar with the horse. The horse is a lot more familiar with you. So it's kind of like you know the weaknesses of the horse and it's positive. So I think it meshed well. I really like that. I also drove for other people, horses I never hopped on before. I'd go to Cleveland at night and race horses, and that was definitely a rush. But I definitely liked the training aspect.
Okay. And did you just train your horses or others, or?
I just trained mine, and I've worked as a trainer for my dad for other people.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I know almost nothing about that industry.
It's a cool industry, but unfortunately it's one of those old school dying industries, so it's it definitely has its ups and downs, and all the OGs told me, like, listen, you need to pursue something else, and some parts of me regrets it, but I'm definitely happy with the route that I've taken.
Yeah.
It's something I could always go back to, so that's what I like.
Yeah. Okay, so what pushed you you kind of just touched on it, but what pushed you to want to move on from that?
I started oil and gas, started picking up, our family farm. There was an oil and gas well, and everyone's like, you should try that out. And I told myself I'd try 1 year and just see, everyone's telling me about these awesome paychecks they were getting.
Yeah.
I just was coming off a pretty bad injury from racing horses, so I was on the shelf for a little bit. I'm like, you know what? I'd like some nice, stable, because horse racing is definitely lucrative if you're doing good. But it's like everything, it's up and down.
Yeah.
You bust your ankle up, no money's coming in for a while. So I took a gamble, went to oil and gas, and it was definitely... everyone complained and said it was hard work. I'm not sure that it was hard work, but it was a lot of hours. You had to be dedicated. And back then there wasn't days off. It was a hustle. And I did that for a year, and I got promoted up to found my way in a safety position, which is something I never thought in the world I would be in, safety environmental. And did that for a few years and just kept building on it, and eventually I figured I needed to get an education if I wanted to pursue anything further. So that's when I achieved my degree through Eastern Iowa.
Okay. Okay. Did you know out of school, did you know what you want, like out of high school, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
Oh, I was going to race horses. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that injury was that kind of, that was the catalyst for, like, did that kind of open your eyes to, like, maybe this is not quite as stable as was that it?
Yeah, definitely. The stability was the big thing.
Okay.
As far as a good job, awesome job, great people, like I love it. I still go in now. My buddy Jason Shaw, I'll drive some horses for him. I'll go in and ride some for him, and just to get my fix. But
yeah. Huh. So that's what you thought was going to be, that was it. That's what you were going to do.
That was it.
Damn. Well, and so you find your way into oil and gas, and then into how did that happen? How did you get into safe? Like, what happened to cause that? I mean, you've been there since. So year two, you're introduced to that. But how did that happen?
I met the safety manager. He seemed like a cool dude. And we had a lot of similar interest, and I was bow fishing at the time. I loved to bow fish and I loved to hunt. He's like, man, I want to try bow fishing. I'm like, well, we should go out sometime. So took him out bow fishing, and then he was hiring safety guys. He's like, hey, you should put in for. I'm like, man, that's not something I really want to do. So I put it off for a while. Then eventually I put in for it and got the position, and he moved on. He moved down to a position down in Texas, and I took a promotion, took his spot, and then just kept building on it, and it's been a pretty cool ride ever since.
Huh. Okay. Damn, that's wild. So you were bow fishing all the way back at that point.
Yeah.
That would have been what, like, when would that have been?
2011, I believe. But
Mm-hmm.
I've been bow fishing since high school. We used to go.
Really? I thought it was way, like, more recent than that. In general, I thought it was.
It got definitely a lot lot bigger boats, a lot more, extravagant items that we're utilizing. But, Evan and I, we used to bow fish Cross Creek.
Really?
We used to walk Chartiers Creek.
Way.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Buddy Mike, yeah. We used to bow fish all the time, lanterns and stuff.
Okay, so that's wild. Okay, so had you been, so was there any interest in that as a career at that, or as a job at that point? 'Cause I guess it wouldn't be a career, but
I built my boat up, and it was a cool setup for friends, but it seemed like the better we did, more people wanted to come. They're like, hey, so-and-so wants to come. I'm like, man, we can only fit, it's a 14-foot boat. Like, it's getting pretty sketchy. We're fixing to sink. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy a bigger boat. So I buy a big boat, and it was a pretty cool boat. It was right during the downturn of the oil field. Everyone's like, you're nuts. You bought that big boat. I'm like, well, I'm going to have time to use it, so it'll be cool. And I started taking people out, and they're like, hey, you should do some charters. I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't ever see myself doing charters. And people kept telling me, like, oh, I'll pay you. So I had to look into it, and there was a whole lot of stuff that I had to do to do charters.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a lot of expense, a lot of time. So I kind of told myself it wasn't something I was going to do. I got lucky one night, and I shot a state record fish. And after that, people were calling me like, hey, take me fishing. Hey, this looks cool. Will you take me fishing? So I told my wife, I'm like, hey, we got to do this legit. Like, we got to talk to someone. So we got an attorney to run through some of the stuff, the steps I needed to get, a guide permit, captain's license, all the cool insurance. And it started our first year. My wife actually said, which I make fun of her all the time, she said it was a stupid idea. She's like, you can't start a bow fishing business in Pennsylvania. It's not going to work. So I really wanted to prove her wrong. So I hustled. And
that's normally a good motivator.
Our first year, we did around 70 trips, which is for a first year charter. That's really good, especially for Pennsylvania with the seasons we have. And since 2016, we're up to, last year we did right around 200 charters.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty solid. Okay, so man, that's interesting. So when you decide to start this as an actual business, I'm imagining, so obviously like the paperwork, like doing it legit, that's got its own issues. Was there a lot of tests actually?
Yes. So if nobody knows, to be a licensed captain, you have to have so many hours of sea school, and then you have to take three exams, and then one final exam. And I was out of school for a while, so to go back and to have to do that.
And you weren't a good student when you were in school.
No. So I was nervous. I took my final at Pitt, and I thought for sure I was going to fail. But I crammed for like 2 days straight, made flashcards. This was something I'm passionate about, so I'm like, I have to do good. So I passed, and I achieved my captain's license, which was cool. I was pretty proud of it. I did it online. I didn't think it was something I was going to ever be as a licensed captain, although my wife does not call me Captain Jordan. I tell her once I'm official captain, that's the only way she's allowed to refer to me, but she still doesn't do it.
That's a bummer. Did you, at any point, did you think you were going to own a business? Like that, because I was thinking about this today, where you and Preston both, like, I guess your dad he kind of had everything that he was into in both catering and obviously with the horse side. But, like, was that something that you thought about at all? Or, like, where do you think that came from?
No, I don't know. I thought it was cool. Everyone told me if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's how I felt with horse racing. So I definitely missed that.
Yeah.
Oil and gas is lucrative as it has been for me, and it's been a great career. It's not something that I love.
Yeah. It's tough to say you enjoy.
It's a job. Yeah. There's definitely aspects I enjoy. There's a lot of aspects that I don't enjoy. So for me to go out and share my passion with people and actually be able to make a living with it, that's the life that I want to live. The way I look at it, you only have one life, so why not enjoy it? So I'm trying to enjoy it.
Huh. Okay. Do you think that came, like, was there any piece of that you think you got from your parents? Or, it was just kind of, I don't know, both of you, the fact that both of you have your things that you do. Also, Preston, he was just on. That's obviously his brother. That's who I'm referring to. But yeah, like I would imagine there's some, maybe not, but I just thought there might be something that, like, your parents, like that mindset that kind of carried through, or maybe not, but yeah. Okay. All right. So you start actually running this as a business. When you started, what kind of, other than actually becoming licensed, like actually running it, what were some of those things that hung you up at first? Like, you already had a boat, so that's great.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a ton of overhead.
See, the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is when you're utilizing a boat every single night, you're wearing a lot of stuff out.
Okay.
A lot of stuff that most people don't think about. I know I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
So right now I have to do oil changes every 10 days.
Oh, wow.
So, that adds up with how many hours.
Okay, and you didn't know that going in? Like,
No. And
okay, so how quickly did you learn that?
I learned it. And the thing is, like, when something breaks, especially marine here in Pennsylvania, we don't have a whole lot of, like, marine repair shops. We have some great shops. But if you go to any marine shop and say, hey, I need my boat motor worked on, they're going to be like, cool, we'll see you in 90 days. And if you're running a charter, that's half of your season.
Yeah.
So I went through YouTube University to learn how to do a lot of stuff. Not saying I'm a mechanic by any means, but I'm rebuilding lower ends. I got an aluminum welder. I'm welding boats. I'm fabricating my own stuff. I do my own upholstery. I do all kinds of stuff that I never thought in a million years I would do.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that seems like something that would be a little bit of a So, like, how quickly do you think, like, a lot of that I'm sure you learned over time because you weren't super, well, were you super busy at first? Like, were you booking trips like crazy?
And during all this, I still have a daytime job. So
yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to get to.
So that's the... But it's not like anybody told me that, like, hey, there's all this other stuff that you have to look at. Like, the way I look at it, it looked like an iceberg. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah,
I got the boat. I could just take people fishing. Like, this is cool. Well, under that iceberg's all the arrows that you're going to break at $40 an arrow, all the equipment people are going to drop, $700 bow in the water, and you're going to lose it, stuff like that.
How do you handle that stuff? And I'm sure that's changed over your time, but is that just just how do you handle that? Because I'm sure there's going to be stuff that clients break.
Yeah, I've been always pretty lax, and I just kind of ate it. But unfortunately, with this day and age, I can't eat a lot of that because with inflation, it's a struggle. These fuel prices are tough for me. I'm spending. We had a cold night. On an average night, I'm using at least 12 gallons of fuel a night, just in my boat, not counting my truck.
Yeah.
And that's per boat. Well, the other night, it was a cold front, so I had to run pretty far. I ran probably 50 miles that night. So I went through, right around 20 gallons of fuel that night. So that's pretty expensive. You figure out how much 20 gallons of fuel costs right now.
Yeah.
The on the water price in Pittsburgh is right around $7 a gallon. So it's not a fun time to be putting a lot of fuel in.
Yeah, that's not fun. So do you, with equipment, like, is it just that's kind of what the insurance, like, how do you handle that?
So,
or lost equipment or broken or?
Right now, all of our customers sign a waiver, and through that waiver, they're responsible if they lose, arrows and stuff like that. That's basically a consumable good for me, the way I look at it. That they are expensive, but I do expect to lose some from time to time, so I factor that in. The bows, I'd rather not. Right now, just a bow fishing reel. everyone thinks like, oh, that stuff's probably cheap. Just my reels are $375 a reel.
Have you had a lot of issues with that, or is it kind of like, yeah? Have you had a lot of issues with that, or not really? Of just like broken equipment from either negligence or.
My equipment that I use is pretty top of the line, so it can take a beating. So I really don't have too many issues with breaking equipment. As far as losing, I did lose 2 bows last year, and I lost 1 this year. So you're looking about $750 a bow.
That
set up.
Sucks. Yeah. Early on, did you have any?
Early on, I did.
I guess because you were probably with friends. Well, friends is a weird one though, because I feel like they kind of treat your stuff worse than
probably
like clients do. Okay, so that's something that you learned relatively quickly.
Yes.
How were you? Was it all word of mouth at the beginning?
It was all word of mouth, and it kind of spread pretty quick. I built a Facebook page, did some advertising on Facebook. I made a good friend who I'm sponsored currently by, is the Archer's Edge Archery Shop, and he started his archery shop several years before I started the charter business, but his archery shop really took off, and he helped me build what I have now. He helped me advertise in his shop, sent a bunch of people my way, and a lot of my clientele that I have now, a lot of my regulars are folks from his shop.
Okay, so that was how early on did you make that connection?
It was probably my first year, just after about a year of chartering. My buddy's like, hey, I need to put you in touch with Steve. He owns the Archer's Edge. He's a good dude. And went in there and hit it off. And now me and Steve are really good buddies. We're always picking on each other. But he's another small business owner that, and I look to him for a lot of advice because, he's our industry. There's not a whole lot of people that you can go to and talk about our industry and different things. So he's helped me build, sponsorships and stuff like that. I really, I used to bass fish as a kid, so I knew there were sponsorships out there. Yeah. I didn't know how that stuff worked. So he kind of helped me with navigating through some of the companies with some of his contacts and helped me get some different material, different equipment, I tested some stuff for some companies. So it was pretty cool.
How do those sponsorships work for, like, on the business side of it? Because I feel like it kind of makes sense, at least thinking about, like, athletes, if you want to say. I mean, obviously we're talking about fishing, so it feels kind of weird to call that an athletes. But for businesses, is it different or?
So some people, you'll see people that post their stuff all over their trucks, different companies and stuff, and that's not the route that I ever wanted to go. I do, I have the Archer's Edge on my stuff, and I have a couple other companies that I'm currently working with. But those are companies that I believe in. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put someone's name all over my stuff or all over my boat if I haven't used their stuff and don't believe in their stuff. So I have trialed some companies in the past that wanted to give me awesome, lucrative sponsorship deals, but their products just weren't working for me. They're breaking, and if I'm going to put my name behind something, I want it to be good quality. So right now I utilize interlock broadheads. They're American made. They're really tough and stout arrows. They're not the cheapest by any means, but they work well for me.
So with those sponsorships, are you and we don't have to cover if you don't want, but is that a discounted, how do those relationships work? I guess that's a better way to look at it.
So some the different contracts, a lot of times, since I use so much material, I usually go with a discount. Some people you'll get money for advertising. Okay. I like to take that in products. If it's, a couple dozen arrows here and then, a discount for the rest, or, a special discount across the board on stuff. Luckily I'm really blessed with working with Steve for the Archer's Edge because he works with every brand there is. Yeah. So I don't actually have to work directly with the company and do all that work. Yeah. And I could just work with Steve, and he's kind of basically my middleman to a lot of companies. He's my go-to. I get all my bows. He tunes all my stuff, gets me all set up.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so you kind of touched on this earlier. This is going to be a little random, but your full-time job is oil and gas, which is, like you also mentioned, it's a job that requires a lot of hours. Maybe not as many now.
Yes.
definitely not as many now, but early on, like, how in the world were you managing? I guess, so when you started, you said at that point, off days were kind of non-existent.
Yep.
Were you doing this at that point? Were you bow fishing at that point as a business or as like taking people out?
I didn't start going as a business until I basically had a solid Monday through Friday. And then I was just going
helpful.
on the weekends.
Okay.
Now I'm 7 days a week.
Yeah, how do you manage the scheduling of all that? Like, I know how, like, you've got the scheduling through your site, but that seems like a nightmare. Like, that seems very difficult to manage.
It was, but so I think from a young age I've always been instilled with a work ethic, and I feel like a lot of times if you sleep in, you're wasting time. That's that's productive time.
Yeah,
you're not getting back.
Yeah.
So I with doing this at night, I've kind of trained myself where I only really need 3 to 4 hours a night to sleep.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty cool. And I function just fine. Like I did a charter last
just
night.
Fine. Well, you can debate,
but it took me a while to get to that. And as I started getting busier, it was taking a toll on me. I was getting definitely consuming a lot of energy drinks, and I even went to a point where you ever see those shock bracelets you get.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
Okay.
And it'll light you up. Like you have to put an 8-digit code in when your alarm goes off, and if you mess the code up, like it'll shock you, and your phone goes flinging across the room.
So a little background, obviously, what I guess we haven't actually covered, but it's probably pretty clear. The bow fishing trips are all at night.
Yes. Yep. 5-hour trips.
Yeah. So starting generally at like dusk.
Yeah. Like tonight, I'll start at 8:30. The cool thing now is I actually bought. I have a houseboat that I live on the weekends. Some nights if I'm tired, and I keep my boats in the city. So I get done with my trip. I throw the fish on ice, roll over, and I go to bed or catfish or do whatever, and then wake up in the morning and head to my office and take care of my business.
Okay.
But I have hired people, so I'm thinking here in the next year I'm not going to have to work 7 days a week, but we'll see. I probably still will.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll just get another boat to fill that time.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, so that obviously, I mean, that seems like its own challenge. That's just you got to get used to it or you can't do it. Like, either get used to it or pick something else to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be at night. Well, does it have to be at night, or can you do it during the day?
It does not. Like, you can do it during the day. It is. It's not as easy during the day. It's a little bit harder to see, so it's a little bit of a struggle.
Okay.
We did a youth event this year. We did our.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
We did. I think I have the shirt on. Yeah, we had the first annual youth event that we did in memory of my son that passed away last year. So we took 40 kids bow fishing at Pymatuming. Obviously it was free. Preston, he had to work, but Pam was flinging some burgers there for with his
special seasoning. Heard there was a little bit of an issue with the grill after that, but
yeah, we might have lost his grill on the highway on the way home. So, but he. It was awesome. We had I had my sponsors donated bows.
That's cool.
We had we had 10 big prizes from bow fishing trips, smallmouth bass fishing trips with my dad. We had 2 bows, a bunch of an air gun, a bunch of different prize packages. And what we did is my buddy Jeremiah from Boondock Outdoors, he makes carp targets. And we put numbers for those prizes, and we hid the carp targets out on the lake. So if the kids shot the target, they didn't know what they had until we had the little award ceremony, and then they found out they got a brand new bow. So
that's cool.
It was pretty cool. We killed 35 fish with 40 kids, and they got to take home prizes. So
that's cool.
It was fun. Honestly, it was probably one of the most fun days I've had on the water. It was pretty cool. It rained. It was windy. The weather was rough, but the kids were having so much fun, and it was just cool watching them light up slinging arrows.
How did you? Running events for kids seems like its own, its own challenge. Like, what type of? How did you advertise for that?
You know what?
Like, how did you get people?
I just posted some flyers, Creek Archery, Archer's Edge, and I put it on my Facebook page, and we were booked up to 40 kids like instantly.
Really?
Like, it was really fast. And I felt bad because I probably had 100 people call me. And we didn't have room.
Well, that's good for next year.
Unfortunately, at this point, I can't take 100 kids fishing at one time.
Yeah.
I would love to. And so next year, we're going to try to build it. I'm going to try to get some more volunteers.
Yeah.
And see if we can't build it even bigger.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some stuff like what all did you do actually? What all did you have them? So you mentioned the hidden fish, but like what else did you do like training or anything?
Yeah, so we did a seminar. So a bunch of my awesome buddies that have boats, some not even bow fishing boats, some pontoon boats, fishing boats. That's why we went during the day. It's a little more easier if you don't have all the lights and generators if you're going during the day.
Yeah.
So we picked it during the spawn. That's when all the fish would be up really shallow. It'd be easy to see them. So we went through all the equipment, showed all the kids how to utilize the equipment, and then took them out for fishing for about 4 or 5 hours. We took them out.
Okay.
We're hoping to get everybody some shots. Some boats did better than others. My boat, luckily, we found a lot of fish. My dad's boat, they found a ton of fish in real shallow, so they had some little kids spearing fish. They're throwing spears. We had crossbows. We had all kinds of stuff for them. But it was definitely a really fun event.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, now that you know, it's such a, like, to have that many people and to fill up that quickly, like, that's good for next year.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Hopefully we get some more volunteers. And
yeah, just figure out how to include, like, even include some more things on land. If you only have so many boats, like, you only have so many boats. But
it was cool because I modeled it off of some... There's some companies out west that have been doing it for probably like 3 years, and I modeled theirs. And I saw their pictures, and they had like 17 kids. I'm like, oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and it started like filling up really quick. I'm like, man, this event's fixing to be bigger than anything anyone's ever put on. So I'm not sure what the biggest youth event has been in bow fishing, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty close to it. Yeah.
Huh. So when did you do that? What
we did it
like month what?
Last month.
Okay. So is that something you want to do more of? Like, because that feels like a good way to it's a good way to obviously to introduce kids to it, but it's also a nice, like, it's just a good family event. Yeah. Because you can bring out, parents, and everyone can kind of enjoy the nice weather and in probably in a lot of cases a new crazy like this wild new hobby. It's like, what do we do? We're shooting bows into the water. This is wild. Yeah. But is that something you guys are going to do more of, or what do you...
I've been doing bow fishing seminars off and on for a while with the target tank, like Bass Pro Shops and stuff like that. Unfortunately, with how much I work, it's really hindered how much I can do that. But the youth event, I want that to be an annual thing that we're going to do every year. We also have some other things that I'm going to be doing. My wife gets so mad because I come up with these ideas, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this. Yeah. You don't have any time. You don't sleep. What are you thinking? But we... I
have 3 hours to go.
Yeah, I got 3 hours. So I'm actually... my uncle, he used to love to fish, and unfortunately, he passed away, and he spent his last few months in a nursing home. And I saw a thing where they were taking fish to nursing home, like let the nursing home folks catch catfish on rod and reel. I'm like, man, that's cool. So I emailed this lady.
Okay, that sounds so wild.
I emailed this lady. I'm like, hey, they had a catfish farm. Like, hey, I'd like to buy 30 catfish. And she's like, yeah, cool. So I have it all set up, and I'm working with a nursing home here. I'm fixing to do it. We're going to try to do it once it cools down. We don't want it to be too hot. So that's going to be something I'm going to do in the fall. Is I'm going to take some catfish to that nursing home just in memory of him, and just take some old folks catfish. Wife's like, you're nuts. I'm like,
that'll be a good one. Yeah, that's cool.
Stuff like that's fun to me. I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so... back to the businessy stuff. So, just seeing a bunch of old people just catching, that'll be a fun one. Okay, so early on, you've got some of those unforeseen issues. Since then, I imagine anything that's hunting or anything like that has its own, obviously, like, we don't have to get into too in depth on it, but like, there's some issues that are going to come up with whatever you want to call that, like protesting or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
How I know that stuff has happened, but like, how do you manage that? That seems like something that is, you can either just like stick your head in the sand and just say like, hey, I'm just not going to pay any attention to this, or maybe there's something you can do. Like, how do you handle anything like that? And I'm assuming there's something to be gained from that, like something to be pulled.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, if you're doing anything out there, there's going to be haters.
Yeah.
And, I definitely, I respect everyone's views. I understand everyone has different views. I don't agree with everyone's views. Everyone doesn't, but that's a cool thing. It's America.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree.
Yeah.
So, yes, I have got slack over the years for shooting fish, because Pennsylvania, once you do shoot a fish, it's not permitted for you to put it back in the water. So that fish is dead.
Yeah.
The fish we target are mainly carp, suckers, and very seldom catfish. Carp are actually an invasive species. They are actually not supposed to be here. I could get into the whole ecosystem, how they're not supposed to be here, and how they do cause harm to our waterways. But they have been in there for so long. They're not something that I think should be eradicated.
Yeah.
There's other countries putting chemicals in the water to try to eradicate them because they are harmful. But these are fish that populate very heavily. So when a carp holds eggs, they hold right around 1 to 2 million eggs. So they can really reproduce, and they get large pretty fast. So it's not something that I'm ever going to eradicate all the fish out of our area.
Yeah.
These fish are very, very well populated within our waterways. But yes, unfortunately, some people do not like me harvesting them. I do try to put them to good use as much as I can. I have several animal sanctuaries that were taking fish. Unfortunately, another thing I learned in business, I thought it was cool to advertise where I was donating my fish to. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Didn't dawn on me that like there's anti-people out there that are going to harass these companies for accepting my fish. So
that's such a bummer.
Learned that one the hard way. But
that's such a bummer. So did that put a stop to some of those relationships?
Unfortunately, it did. But we still have a few.
That sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're getting free food, free
donation.
food for the animals.
Yeah.
That we're all trying.
That we're being rehabilitated.
God,
yeah. So
sucks.
We still donate fish to some of those places. We also have some farmers are taking them for fertilizer. Fish is the best fertilizer you can use. That's what the Indians used to use. It's very, very good for fertilizer. So I have a lot of buddies at deer hunt put food plots in. And we use some for that. But right now, this time of the year, catfishing is really popular within our area. So there's a ton of catfishermen. There's a lot of tournaments going around. So during COVID, I don't know what it was, but everyone was struggling getting bait. No one could get bait. They like to use cut bait, which is big suckers. And I had a ton of them. So I have 2 freezers in my house full of them. And I just, the guys call me up. I leave them in my truck and they take them. And, it's all donation. It's illegal in Pennsylvania for me to sell fish currently. I'm trying to get a commercial license so I can sell cut bait. But that's another business venture that we're trying to work through. And eventually I would like to even start up potentially a fish fertilizer business. That's something some other states have been doing. And it's kind of taken off.
Yeah.
But as far as, I'm unfortunately, I just kind of brush off the hate mail.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a great way to handle it other than just like, we're going to keep on doing it. Like, we'll adjust and just keep on.
I've had my truck vandalized. I've had, pictures of me and my family put on online that they're going to, do harm to us. I've even had death threats on my dogs. My 2 Dalmatians.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you guys love animals so much, but you want to kill my dogs. So
that's a bummer. Okay, so we've gone through some of the...
and some people eat the carp. Like my brother loves to eat carp. You'll have to ask him about it.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. All right. So we've gone through that piece. That was one that I didn't know if you had any like real solutions to, which is just like you just
smile.
Yeah. And I keep doing it. Whatever I'm doing is we just disagree.
Yep.
Okay. So we've gone through your work. What kind of I saw on your site about anybody who appears to be intoxicated. The fact that you're a nighttime thing that is kind of advertised for bachelor parties or just it's a fun time.
Yep.
It is a fun time. How quickly did you figure out we got to crack down on this? And did you ever have any real issues with that?
I've had a few issues, but luckily I did my research before I made my waivers and talked to a couple.
How quickly did you make your waivers? Was that immediate?
That was immediate. Yeah,
okay.
That's a requirement through the insurance company.
Okay.
So I just kind of, when I was building my waivers, I talked to some other people that had fishing charters. Obviously, weren't bow fishing, but I was just talking to them, some of their insight, and I saw that was popping up on a lot of the different waivers. And then I did my research online, just clicking on different charters to see if I could get to their waivers and read. And I'm like, man, so, okay, this is something I need to be aware of. And for the most part, at first I didn't allow alcohol. It was just, I was a hard no on alcohol. And then I have since lightened up and I do allow them to have drinks on the boat. But I have to do my diligence as well and just make sure I'm monitoring people. Pretty much, I'm not serving them alcohol out there, but I have to act as the bartender. If I feel like they're too drunk to have, they have to sit down. I've had a few people where I made sit down. I'm like, hey, you're going to put the boat down. You're going to sit down for a while, have water and cool it a little bit. But that's something that I preach to my captains as well. And we really haven't had too many issues. We've had a lot of great people. We've been really blessed with the clientele that we've had. A lot of our clientele are regulars. I have companies that book me, 15 times a year. And I have, my buddy Dale, he books with me every other week. He's out there every other week with his crew. So
that's cool. Have you, I know you do a lot of trade shows. Like, how percentage-wise, obviously, I'm sure you don't know off the top of your head, but percentage-wise, do you get a lot of repeat or?
I do get a lot of repeats, and my wife has been telling me for years to just stop the trade shows because they're expensive.
Yeah.
I do the Harrisburg show, the Great American Outdoor Show, which is the biggest outdoor show, and which is crazy because it's in Harrisburg. You wouldn't think that's the biggest outdoor show.
Yeah, it's a weird place for that.
It costs a lot of money. I think a booth is like $1,800. Then it's 9-day show. You have all your expenses out there. You have your hotel.
Yeah.
And you're talking to, hundreds of thousands of people that are coming by. So it'll wear you out.
Yeah.
And I was already booking up. But I knew I wanted to expand, get this other boat running. And so I just continued to push with it. Luckily, I brought Austin on this year, and he loves to talk to people. And he is really excited about talking to people. Unfortunately, I get burnt out at the shows. Yeah. So, after a day, I just find myself just kind of sitting there playing on my phone, which is not what you want to do when you run the business.
No, not when you're spending $1,800 to be there.
You want to be out there,
advertise.
Talking to people. And, I like consciously knew I was doing it, but I'm like, I'm just
over people.
Over it. Yeah. So I have Austin doing a lot of my shows for me, and it's ridiculous how much I noticed this year. He's definitely, he loves to talk to people, and he talked to everyone that went by. I mean, this dude did not let someone walk by my booth without like, hey, you know about bow fishing?
Did you see an increase in
crazy amount?
Really?
Oh, crazy amount. I bet you, I was booking maybe. And it's tough because I'd have repeats come there. But I'd book, 20 to 30 at the show. I feel at the show. This year I booked like 70.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
he definitely he did a terrific job. And I do know there's probably some other factors in that, but that was the biggest takeaway. So I think like if you're going to do those shows, and I see it all the time. I go to all these shows, and some of them are 3-day shows. 3-day shows I can handle, but a 9-day show is long. But some of these companies, will send representation for them at these shows. And those people aren't as invested. It's not their company.
Yeah.
So they're not as passionate about it. So they'll just sit there. They won't engage people. They'll look down, play on their phone. So people keep walking. And I see
Well, clearly it doesn't matter if they are engaged or like if they do have as much involved. Because you
true.
You were the owner and you were still doing it.
But I notice, I see companies failing at these outdoor shows. And I'm sure that transfers into other business as well, but you really have to make sure that you're out there and being, you're engaging your customers that are walking by you. If you're not, you're wasting your money at those shows.
Yeah. Damn, that's so wild. So that much of I'm assuming even if you don't have him, it's like, oh, we're either going to do these shows with somebody else that's just like him, or we're just not going to do them because it's kind of a waste.
Yeah. I do like going though because I do see some of my out of town folks. I have people coming in from all over, so a lot of people come up from Virginia and Maryland and New York, Canada to that show, so I get to see them out there.
Have you had trouble finding people to work?
Yes. So that is the hang up for me is I can't just hire somebody.
Yeah.
These you obviously have to know how to drive a boat. Bow fishing, you're in really, really shallow water. You have to know how to shoot a bow. You have to know how to teach people to shoot a bow. You have to know how to look for different species and tell people species you can't shoot, can't shoot. And plus, you have to have a captain's license. So if I would hire you right now, say, hey, you know what, you're hired, I would not get to have you take charters this year.
How long? How long from the time
Austin
you bring somebody on?
He's not taking charters yet. He sent in for his U.S. Coast Guard captain's license. He passed everything 45 days ago. And we are still waiting.
Okay.
Current wait time right now is anywhere from 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
And during COVID, Rich was he was laid off. So he was going to captain school, finished it all. He went to take his final exam, and the school shut down for COVID-19. So he was laid off, but he didn't have a captain's license, so he couldn't run my other boat. I begged and pleaded with everyone trying to get him in, and unfortunately, this was in February. I didn't get him in until August. He didn't get his license till December. So I ate an entire year of one boat. It sat in the garage, didn't run one time.
Wow. Huh. So man, that's so crazy. So, are you looking for people that have, obviously I'm sure it's preferred, but it's going to be very difficult to find somebody that actually has all of those things. Like, how are you looking for those people?
First I advertised and I interviewed people, and then I've interviewed a lot of people for oil and gas.
Yeah.
And I've been in, but this business is my baby. I want it to really succeed. So I have to know that I trust somebody. So I had a hard time letting people come work for me.
Yeah.
Just with, I need to know they're invested. So one thing that I've started doing is just looking at some of my customers. I get some customers that have been coming out with me for a long time. They know the ropes. They know it. And so that's Austin. He was a customer of mine.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So that's what I've been going to. And I think he's going to work out good for me. But it's so far there's 3 of us. And then my dad's part-time. He fills in as needed.
Yeah. Damn, that's a good idea. Did you see that elsewhere, or was that just something that was like, oh wait, all these people are here? Or like how did you come up with that as an approach?
It just kind of he mentioned it one time, I think jokingly, like, hey, I'd like to come work for you sometime.
Yeah, and you're like, hey,
let's do it.
How about tomorrow?
Yeah. I actually have another kid that I can't wait to hire him. He's only 16 right now, but when this dude turns 18, like, he's got a job with me. This kid's been bow fishing with me since he's like 11. So it's pretty cool, like, just to watch him transition, and he's really, good at the sport. So
yeah, that's cool. So from the time that that's a lot to invest in somebody.
Yes.
Before you even know if they can, like...
Yeah, you're looking probably $1,800.
and 2 to 3 months before you can even start to see any of that being recouped. Wow. That's that's interesting. That's kind of crazy. So, man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot
That's been the biggest challenge because I could be doing a lot more charters than what I am doing, but...
Well, it's a lot of, like, the time and the cost associated with it. Like, you've got to have that start. I guess if you know you need somebody, like, you just start earlier, but...
And you got to think, our season's only so long here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And there's only so many nights that it's not going to rain. And the water has to be clear. So if it rains, I had a week and a half that I lost this year because the rivers were too muddy, so I had to reschedule. So,
how do you
really dictated on the weather as well.
Yeah, the rescheduling, how do you... That's something I hadn't even thought about, actually. The weather seems like a very difficult challenge.
Yep.
Especially given all of the things that you just went through. Like clear water, decent... I guess temperature isn't as big of a deal, but all of the other things, like rescheduling, if you're already booked up, how are you...
I have to do a lot of refunding.
Oh, that sucks.
Which is tough. So I have to, make sure I'm budgeting for that.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes I push off till next year. I do get some customers that are bummed out when I reschedule them, but I offer bow fishing charters. I don't offer, boat rides.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that my customers are having a good time.
Yeah.
If I feel like we can't see fish, I'm not going to take customers out there.
Yeah, because then you've just got a bad experience.
Yep.
And it's probably not the greatest conditions anyways. Nope. So now it's a bad experience with bow fishing and in the rain or in the whatever. So it's like, okay, well, this is just an awful time for everybody. So just refunds and reschedules.
Yep.
That sucks. Any other like major... It feels like the equipment cost, those are the thing that popped up that were the biggest. Is that the biggest challenge you deal with?
Yeah. Keeping these boats. So I had a boat motor when we first started running 2 boats. I had a boat motor blow up, and that boat motor blowing up, it's a $15,000 motor. So it cost me $15,000 to get a new one.
That's nice.
Yeah, and nice. I just put
that's a couple trips.
Yeah. Right now I did $30,000 in upgrades to the current boat that I'm running now this winter.
When you're making those types of decisions, how are you... Like, how do you justify that? Like, do those increase the customer experience? Or how does it? Because I'm a gear guy. I love gear. So anytime I can find a reason to upgrade my camera gear or something, it's like, oh, this is definitely worth it. And for a while, I had to kind of stop and be like, oh, wait a second. Okay, I really want this new camera, but is the end user ever going to notice it?
Yeah.
No? Okay, not right now then. Like, how do you work through that? Because that, like... Camera equipment is all expensive, but it's not a boat.
Yeah.
It's not a boat.
I think I have everything how I want it now. So I don't think I'm going to do anything.
For now.
But I did make a big change, and I put a surface drive mud motor, like on Swamp People, on my boat.
Okay.
And I was just, does it help my customers get more fish? Maybe some circumstances. But the way I looked at it is it helps me get through mud when our mud here, it does help me. But when I go to Louisiana, when I go down to Texas, because I like to go down there and I shoot the world championship. And to be competitive in the world championship, I need to have, top of the line.
Yeah.
I need to be able to fish fast. I need to be able to be efficient. Okay. So that's how I justify it.
That makes more sense.
I don't know, kind of like an ego thing. I want to win a world championship.
Yeah.
No one from Pennsylvania has ever done it. I want to do it. It's definitely a struggle, but I'm going to get there one day.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's that feels like a good way to justify it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else like that comes to mind as a We kind of covered all of the biggest things that I wanted to touch on. Any other challenges or struggles that have come up that you didn't see as that you didn't expect, or anything like that? Anything that you would have done differently since opening?
One thing is, obviously, I see businesses and how different political environments can dictate them up and down, like oil and gas. You know how I never thought that was something with my fishing industry, but that is something that has been coming into play.
Really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, someone bow fished in front of someone's house in Harrisburg that is friends with a politician, and they disturbed them. So they actually tried to push through some regulations to outlaw generators on boats and bow fishing on banks, which is what I do, which essentially shut my business down.
Yeah.
We have since worked with the Harrisburg and Pennsylvania Fish Commission to get some of those reduced, but there is some new regulations coming out because of that.
Wow.
So that was eye-opening for me to see how one thing like that politically can dictate. It could shut my business down.
Yeah.
And Harrisburg's not even close to here. But something like that could hurt. So, as a business owner, that was something that, I did not ever foresee
that's
that
not
there
really
could
something
be
you can plan for.
Regulation changes that could, eliminate your business. So that was rough.
Wow, yeah, you can't even prepare.
No,
you can't even prepare for that. It's just okay, I guess if this ever happens, first of all, now I know that this can happen, and if it does, I guess I just gotta wait and see what they say, and then try to adjust.
Yep. I go to all the meetings and voice my concerns and fill out their public comment, which unfortunately is, I feel, all I can do. I've contacted all of our state reps, but when you call a state rep, I'm like, hey, I'm a guy that has a bow fishing charter business. They're trying to shut me down. Like, oh, okay, cool. Get a different job.
Yeah.
I haven't got a whole lot of help on that sense, but hey, I'm going to keep fighting for it.
Wow. Were you able to work during COVID?
So COVID, my phone was ringing off the hook.
It was
cool. Everyone wanted to go fishing, and I was allowed to fish. And then for whatever reason, fishing charters got roped into the businesses that got shut down. Not really sure, because it's not like when you think Pennsylvania fishing charters, and it's not a whole lot. You have Lake Erie for the walleye, but you don't have a whole lot of fishing charters. So I'm not really sure why that got singled out, but that shut me down for about a month.
Okay.
And then when it opened back up, I was only allowed 2 people on my boat, which I usually do 5 to 6. So that, you have 2 people splitting the price, because my price is per boat rather than
per person.
6.
Yeah.
So that was an adjustment that hurt us pretty good. Unfortunately, the small business loans and stuff, they're all dried out by the time I got to put in for that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anything you would do differently from the beginning, or any eye-opening obviously the political thing, that's kind of sucks.
I want to keep building on it. I like the way I learned. I'm kind of the type of person I have to learn hands-on.
Yeah.
Some people could probably told me some of these things, and I probably wouldn't have listened until I dealt with it firsthand.
Yeah.
Now that I'm getting a little older, I'm starting to, when I talk to some of my friends that own businesses, and I value their opinions, and, like Steve from the Archer's Edge, I call him all the time, and he gives me feedback, and he shoots me straight on stuff. But we have some other business ventures that we're going to look into expanding, and hopefully make this kind of build this brand that we built so far.
Yeah.
We're looking for the winters. We're probably going to expand and go down to South Florida for the winters and do some chartering down there.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
How is it regulated through, is there anything special you have to get to operate in a different state?
I do. I have to get my charter permits for that state.
Okay.
My Coast Guard license is good for the United States, so that covers us there. But I was just kind of looking, I love being on the water. If I could be on the water right now, I'd be on the water right now. I'm going to be on the water here in probably an hour.
Yeah.
So, but I I really, really enjoy it. So, the fact that I don't want to move from Pennsylvania because I do like Pennsylvania, but I don't like the cold anymore. So I want to be on my boat in the wintertime. So expanding to Florida for the winter is my ticket to paradise.
Can you keep the same boat? Well, yeah, definitely, because you said you're using it for Louisiana and for Texas already.
Yep. So we're gonna take one boat down this year, and we're gonna do. It's not gonna be. It's not going to be by any means. We're not going to do a ton of charters. We're just going to feel it out, do a lot of fishing down there, go down when we can. I think Austin's going to spend a lot of time down there, and we're going to see if we can make it happen. If we can, it's awesome.
How do you plan on expanding into that? Like, just kind of the same way you did here? Just run some ads? And
honestly, we have a lot of clientele here in Pennsylvania, the vacations in Florida. Okay. So I have a lot of regulars like, hey, call me when you're down there. I want to fish. So,
that gets you that good referral base to start.
Yep. So we'll try to build on it from there. We do have the houseboat in Pittsburgh, and we're trying to work on. We want to offer lodging. We do the bachelor parties with 2 boats. Preston's catering the 1 boat for us. So we do some river cruise with for bachelor parties. And, we can take up to 12 people at a time fishing. So it's been pretty cool. Unfortunately, a lot of the marinas don't allow you to have people at their marina. So we're looking at leasing different property. We're looking at buying some property or potentially investing in a marina so we can.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it because I think that'd be a cool thing to start up.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I guess that's it. I don't have any other questions or anything else that I think. I'm sure there will be something to touch on, especially if you start expanding into that stuff. We'll probably just do it again. But where can all of the links will be below? But what are those places to find you?
We're on Facebook, Instagram, Nocturnal Addiction Bow Fishing LLC, and our website, Nocturnal Addiction Bow Fishing. I know it's super, super long, which probably have to have you fix that. But
we'll come up with something. All those links will be down below. Any final words for you?
No, if you're passionate about a business, I think that's a big thing. If I give anyone advice, is just you just got to keep on keeping on.
That feels like pretty solid. That's pretty solid. I mean, you just gotta. If you think it's going to work, because you're gonna have, you're going to have the people that say it's probably not a good idea. Yeah. And they might be right.
They might be.
But you're not going to know until
you'll miss every shot you don't take.
Yeah, keep the cliches coming. All right. That's another episode. Thanks for listening to Clearing the Way. Jordon Miller with Nocturnal Addiction Bow Fishing. All of those links will be down below. That's it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you're consuming this. I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners.